The small human colony of New Haven District on New Terra was peaceful but full of rules. Every home, every street, and even the color of every wall had to be approved by the HOA board, known officially as the Home Order Alliance. They said their rules kept the colony clean and organized. But most people quietly knew the truth. The HOA loved control more than peace. For years, the same people ran the board: Mr. Bragg, a tall man with a sharp voice, Mrs. Kellen, who always carried a tablet full of complaints, and a few others who followed them without question. They acted like kings of the neighborhood. They fined people for having the wrong light color on their porch or for planting flowers without a permit. Then, one morning, something new happened. A big transport ship landed on the edge of the district. Out came a quiet man named Ryan. He had no family with him, just a few containers of supplies and a small silver droid that carried his tools. Ryan built his home himself, far from the main street, on the last plot that touched the wild desert outside the colony. The land had no HOA tag on it. It was free property, untouched by their control. For days, people watched as Ryan worked. His house rose from the ground like magic. Smooth metal walls that reflected sunlight, roofs made of solar glass, and silent defense drones that floated near the corners. He did everything calmly without talking much. The HOA board soon noticed. Mr. Bragg called a meeting. "Who is this new man?" he asked, slamming his hand on the table. He didn't apply for any HOA permit. "He's building on our border." Mrs. Kellen nodded. "I checked his lot number. It's outside our map, but still near enough to follow our design code. We can't allow free behavior here. If one man ignores us, others will follow." The group agreed. They decided to visit Ryan the next morning. When the sun rose over New Haven, Ryan was already awake. He stood on his balcony drinking a cup of hot tea while his droid checked the home's systems. The early light made his solar walls shine like gold. Then he heard footsteps. Mr. Bragg, Mrs. Kellen, and 2 board members were marching up his path with their tablets and badges. Ryan smiled softly. He had expected this. "Good morning," Mrs. Kellen said with a forced smile. "We are from the Home Order Alliance. You must be the new resident." Ryan nodded politely. "Yes, my name is Ryan. How can I help you?" Mr. Bragg stepped forward. "We've noticed your property is not registered under HOA rules. You'll need to pay your district maintenance fees, join the council, and adjust your wall color to match the community tone." Ryan looked calm. "I appreciate your visit," he said in a steady voice. "But my land is not inside the HOA zone. I'm not under your rules." The words made Mr. Bragg's smile vanish. Mrs. Kellen frowned. "That's not how this works, Mr. Ryan. Every property connected to this district must follow our order. It's about unity." Ryan sipped his tea and said quietly, "Unity built on fear is not peace." Mr. Bragg's eyes narrowed. "Are you refusing to cooperate with the HOA?" "I am simply living by the law," Ryan replied. "My property is independent. I have all legal papers. I owe you nothing." The HOA members exchanged angry looks. They weren't used to people saying no. "Well," Mr. Bragg said, "if you won't listen, we'll have to contact colony security. Let them decide." Ryan nodded. "Of course," he said with a calm smile. "You should do that." The board left, whispering angrily to each other. That evening, strange things began to happen around Ryan's house. Small black drones hovered near his windows, scanning. He ignored them at first, but when one of them tried to land on his wall, his own defense drone shot a silent beam, burning it mid-air. Ryan didn't look worried. He simply pressed a button on his wrist device. A signal went out, invisible and fast. Inside his home, a holographic screen appeared showing a simple message. Code, Observation Level 2, report sent to base. His small droid beeped. "Sir, local forces seem curious about your status." "I expected that," Ryan said, walking toward his command desk. "People in power often fear what they can't control." The next morning, the HOA returned, this time with security. 3 armored vehicles rolled down the street. The sound of engines made the whole neighborhood come out to watch. People whispered, wondering what crime had been committed. Mr. Bragg walked proudly in front of them. "Let's see if he still talks about independence now," he said. The vehicles stopped at Ryan's gate. Colony police officers stepped out, their uniforms shining under the sun. They moved with discipline and calm. Ryan opened his gate slowly and walked out wearing simple clothes, his hands behind his back. Mr. Bragg pointed at him. That's the man. He refuses HOA rules, ignores our orders, and destroyed one of our drones. The lead officer walked forward. Name? Ryan, he said simply. Do you deny damaging property of the HOA? Ryan smiled slightly. If you call illegal drones property, then yes, I denied their entry. The officer looked at Ryan's wrist device. Then his eyes widened slightly. He straightened and saluted. Mr. Bragg blinked in confusion. What are you doing? Arrest him. But the officer turned around and said firmly, Sir, this man is registered with Earth Defense Command. He holds Level 1 clearance. He is not under local HOA jurisdiction. The entire street went silent. Ryan looked at Mr. Bragg calmly. I told you I'm not under your HOA. The other officers came forward, not to arrest him but to stand beside him. The crowd of neighbors gasped. Mrs. Kellen's face turned pale. Mr. Bragg stammered. This must be a mistake. He's lying. The officer shook his head. No mistake. He's our superior. Ryan finally spoke in a firm, clear voice. I'm not here to fight anyone. I came to this district for quiet work, but when I see power misused against innocent people, I take notice. Mr. Bragg tried to speak, but no words came. The officers faced the board members. Do not interfere with Commander Ryan's property again. Any further disturbance will be treated as obstruction. The HOA members slowly backed away. The crowd whispered. Some surprised, some smiling quietly. Mrs. Kellen looked frightened. You're really with Earth Defense? She asked softly. Ryan nodded. That's correct. And I like peace. You should too. The officers saluted again and returned to their vehicles. Ryan turned toward his home as the engines faded into the distance. The board stood frozen, humiliated, as the people began to laugh quietly behind them. The power they once used to scare others had failed completely. That night, Ryan sat alone on his balcony, looking up at the twin moons of New Terra. His droid hovered beside him. Was that wise, sir? The droid asked. Yes, Ryan said. Sometimes people must learn that control without care leads only to fear. He looked at the stars, calm and thoughtful. Somewhere beyond, Earth Command was watching. He whispered softly, Let's see how they act now. The next morning, the colony buzzed with news. Everyone was talking about the man who stood up to the HOA and how the police had saluted him instead of arresting him. But far away, inside the HOA building, Mr. Bragg's anger was burning. He slammed his tablet on the table. He embarrassed us in front of everyone, he said through gritted teeth. We'll find out who he really is. No one makes fools of us. Mrs. Kellen looked uneasy. Maybe we should leave him alone, she whispered. He's not ordinary. Mr. Bragg glared at her. Everyone has a weakness, he said. We'll find his. Outside, in his peaceful home, Ryan quietly activated his data screens. He was already one step ahead, studying the board's illegal records, tracing their secret accounts and preparing for what would come next. He knew the HOA wouldn't stop. And he was ready, because Ryan wasn't just a quiet man. He was humanity's watcher, and his mission had just begun. The next few days in New Haven District were full of whispers and rumors. Everyone was talking about what had happened at Ryan's gate, how the police had saluted him instead of arresting him. Some said he was an undercover officer. Others believed he was a high-ranking engineer or a government watcher. No one knew for sure. But one thing was certain. The HOA board was furious. Inside the meeting hall, Mr. Bragg sat with his arms crossed, his face red with anger. He made us look like fools, he said sharply. Everyone's laughing at us. Even the cleaning staff avoids eye contact. Mrs. Kellen looked down at her tablet. We can't fight someone with Earth Defense status, Bragg. You saw how the security team respected him. Mr. Bragg hit the table with his hand. I don't care who he is. No man can ignore the HOA. We made this district what it is. We built order here. He can't live outside our control. One of the younger board members, Thomas, spoke softly. Maybe we should let it go, sir. If he wants peace, why push him? Mr. Bragg turned toward him with cold eyes. Because if one man breaks our order, 10 more will follow. And then the HOA means nothing. He stood up and walked to the window. We'll find another way. If we can't fight him openly, we'll use the system itself. Mrs. Kellen frowned. You mean? Bragg smiled slowly. We report him to the Colony Resource Office. We'll say he's storing restricted tech in his house. That will force an inspection, and this time not even his status will save him. The board agreed, though uneasily. They all knew it was risky, but their pride was stronger than their fear. Meanwhile, Ryan stayed calm in his silver home at the edge of the district. His small droid, Unit 3, moved around the living room, cleaning and checking systems. "Sir?" The droid beeped. "External communication signals have increased by 40%. Most come from the HOA building." Ryan didn't look surprised. He sat at his desk reading a holoscreen full of district data. "Expected," he said. "They're trying to find a way to control me again. Should we respond?" The droid asked. Ryan shook his head. "No, let them dig their own hole. I want to see how far they go." Outside, the wind of New Terra blew gently across the desert fields. Ryan looked out the window. In the distance, the dome of the city shimmered under the twin suns. It looked peaceful, but he knew peace was fragile when power was misused. 2 days later, a large colony vehicle arrived at Ryan's property again. But this time it wasn't police. It was an inspection team from the Colony Resource Office. The lead officer, Chief Moran, stepped out with a group of 3 inspectors. Mr. Bragg and Mrs. Kellen followed behind. Pretending to look official, Ryan opened his door before they could even knock. "Good morning," he said politely. Chief Moran looked nervous. "Mr. Ryan, we've received a report that your property contains restricted technology. We need to conduct a brief inspection." Ryan nodded. "Of course. May I ask who made the report?" The chief hesitated. "The HOA board, sir." Ryan smiled slightly. As I expected." He gestured for them to enter. His home was spotless in simple furniture, glowing panels, and soft lights. Nothing looked dangerous. As they walked through the rooms, Mrs. Kellen whispered to Bragg, "This place looks cleaner than the colony base." "Keep looking," Bragg hissed. "He's hiding something." The inspectors finished their work within minutes. Chief Moran turned toward Ryan. "Everything appears normal, sir." "I apologize for the disturbance." Ryan nodded kindly. "No trouble, Chief, but please, next time you get a report from the HOA, make sure it's not personal revenge." Moran looked embarrassed. "Yes, sir, understood." Before leaving, Ryan looked at the 2 board members and said quietly, "You should stop this. The more you try to harm others, the more harm returns to you." Mr. Bragg's face turned red, but he said nothing. That night, the HOA building light stayed on late. Bragg sat in his office, staring at a hologram of Ryan's house. "He's mocking us," Bragg said. "We'll lose all respect if we don't do something." Mrs. Kellen sighed. "What can we do now?" "Even the resource office cleared him." "We're out of power." Bragg clenched his fists. "No, not yet. If legal ways fail, we use other means. We'll send someone to teach him a lesson." Mrs. Kellen looked worried. "That's dangerous." "If he really is with Earth Defense, no, he's just a man," Bragg interrupted coldly. "Everyone has limits." The next evening, Ryan's sensors picked up movement near his property. His system showed 3 unknown heat signatures hiding near the gate. He sighed softly. "So they've sent someone again." Unit 3 floated near the door. "Orders, sir?" "Non-lethal defense only," Ryan said. "Let's show them why peacekeepers are not easy targets." When the intruders tried to cut the fence, the defense field flared. Blue light surrounded them, freezing their suits in place. Drones descended quietly, scanning their faces. "Unregistered workers," the droid reported. "Possibly hired mercenaries from outer trade colonies." Ryan walked out calmly, his footsteps echoing on the metal path. The trapped men looked terrified. "Go home," he said simply. "Tell whoever sent you that this is their last warning." He released them with a tap on his wrist device. They ran away into the night without looking back. The next morning, word spread again. The locals whispered that Ryan's home had glowing shields and flying machines guarding it. Children looked at his house in awe, calling it the Silver Fortress. Ryan continued his quiet life, fixing solar grids and helping nearby families with small repairs. People began to respect him not out of fear, but because he helped without asking anything in return. Old Mrs. Doria, a neighbor, once came to thank him. "You fixed my power line yesterday." "I didn't even ask," she said kindly. Ryan smiled. "We all share the same sky, Mrs. Doria. It's better when everyone has a light." She nodded, eyes soft. "You're not like others, Mr. Ryan. I hope the board leaves you in peace." He just smiled quietly. "So do I." But the board didn't stop. A week later, Mr. Bragg called another secret meeting. The people are starting to like him, he said darkly. If we let this go, the HOA loses its power completely. Mrs. Kellen rubbed her temples. And what do you suggest? Bragg leaned forward. We find his weakness. No one that calm is truly calm. Maybe he's hiding something bigger, a secret mission, maybe weapons. If we expose him, he's finished. Thomas spoke again nervously. Sir, maybe it's better to let the colony peace officers handle it. We're not trained for this. Bragg slammed his hand on the table. Silence. We'll handle it our way. We'll send our best data slicer to hack his system. Once we find proof, we control him. Mrs. Kellen looked uncertain but nodded slowly. That night, one of the HOA's hired hackers tried to enter Ryan's system from the network. But as soon as the signal touched his firewall, a message flashed across every terminal in the HOA office. Unauthorized access detected. Incident recorded. Report sent to Earth Defense Command. Seconds later, a calm voice echoed from the screen. Ryan's voice. Mr. Bragg, I told you, I stopped this. You're walking into danger you don't understand. The connection cut off instantly. The boardroom fell silent. Mrs. Kellen whispered, He knew it was us. Instantly. Bragg stared at the blank screen, his confidence cracking for the first time. Who is this man? He muttered. That night, Ryan stood outside under the stars, watching the quiet colony lights in the distance. His droid hovered beside him. Sir, you allowed them to attack again. Why not stop them completely? Ryan looked thoughtful. Because sometimes the truth must grow from their own actions. When they fall, everyone will see who they really are. Humanity learns best through its mistakes. The droid beeped softly. And when will you reveal who you are? Soon, Ryan said. Very soon. He turned his gaze to the night sky where a faint silver star moved across the darkness. An Earth defense ship quietly watching from orbit. Ryan smiled faintly. They think I'm alone, he said. But they don't know. I never am. The wind of New Terra blew across the sand as the colony slept, unaware that a storm of truth was coming. The morning sun rose over New Haven District, shining softly across the metal houses. The colony looked peaceful from a distance, but under the surface, tension was growing. Everyone knew something was happening between Ryan and the HOA board, yet no one understood how deep the story really went. Inside his silver home, Ryan sat in front of a wide hollow screen that filled an entire wall. Streams of data moved across it, names, records, and secret transactions. His small droid, Unit 3, floated beside him, glowing blue. Sir, the droid said, I've traced their data links. The HOA board is sending hidden reports to off-world accounts. They are collecting extra energy fees from citizens and hiding the credits. Ryan nodded slowly. I knew it. Power always hides behind numbers. He zoomed in on one record. The transaction name read, Energy Resource Fund, New Haven HOA. But the receiver's code didn't match the colony's government. It matched an unregistered account from an outer mining company. They're selling energy rights, Ryan said quietly. Stealing from their own people and trading it for profit. Unit 3 beeped softly. Should we send this to the main base? Not yet, Ryan replied. We need more proof. I want to see who's behind it. Across the district, inside the HOA building, Mr. Bragg sat with Mrs. Kellen. The lights were dim, and Bragg's voice was sharp. Our last attempt failed, he said angrily. He caught our slicer instantly. How did he do that? Mrs. Kellen looked nervous. He's more than we thought. Maybe he really is Earth Defense. Bragg leaned back in his chair. Then we must act faster. Before he reports us. He turned to his assistant. Send a message to our outer contact. Tell them we need help. Professionals. The assistant hesitated. You mean mercenaries? Bragg nodded coldly. Yes, quiet ones. No one must know. Mrs. Kellen gasped softly. Bragg, that's dangerous. If they attack him and fail, we'll be blamed. Bragg smiled in a thin, cold way. They won't fail. They deal with bigger targets than one man. He didn't know it yet, but his own message was being copied and recorded by Ryan's system the moment it left the network. That night, Ryan stood on his balcony looking up at the twin moons. The colony lights glittered below like small stars. He pressed a small device on his wrist and a holographic image appeared. A communication link. A calm voice spoke from the air. Commander Ryan, this is Earth Defense Command. Report your progress, Rian spoke softly. The corruption here runs deep. The HOA is selling colony energy to off-world traders. I have proof of funds, but not yet of their higher connections. The voice replied, Do you need backup? Ryan shook his head. Not yet. I want to give them a chance to stop themselves. If they don't, then we bring justice. Understood, Commander, the voice said. We trust your judgment. Stay alert out. The hologram faded. Ryan took a deep breath and looked at the horizon. Let's see what they do next, he whispered. The next evening, the colony grew quiet earlier than usual. Few people walked the streets. Even the wind felt still. Ryan noticed the silence immediately. Something's wrong, he said. Unit 3 floated closer. Thermal sensors show movement. 3 heat signatures approaching from the east. Are they the same ones from before? No, sir. These are armed. Different suits, higher power level. Ryan stood up and pressed a button. The lights in his house dimmed and the defense system came alive. Drones lifted from their docks and energy shields shimmered around the perimeter. Outside, 3 dark figures moved through the shadows carrying pulse rifles. They were mercenaries, hired from the outer mining colonies as Bragg had ordered. One of them whispered, This guy lives alone. We take him fast, no noise. They didn't know who they were dealing with. As soon as they stepped through the gate, a beam of blue light surrounded them. The energy shield reacted, freezing their suits and disarming their weapons. Ryan stepped out from his door, calm as always. The night breeze moved his coat slightly. You should tell your employer, he said in a quiet voice, that attacking an Earth defense officer is not a small mistake. The mercenaries looked at him in shock. We didn't know, one began to say, but Ryan raised a hand. I know you didn't. Leave. Tell them this is their last chance. The shield deactivated and the 3 ran away into the darkness without another word. By morning, the story spread across New Haven like fire. People talked about strange lights, glowing walls, and the sound of voices in the night. Some said Rian's home was protected by alien tech. Others said he had a guardian army hidden underground. But Rian didn't care about rumors. He cared about truth. He went back to work tracing the energy lines of the colony. With each file, he uncovered more signs of corruption. Fake maintenance projects, hidden credit routes, and silent payments from the HOA to outer corporations. He stored everything in a secret file marked Evidence Package 03, New Haven Corruption Case. That evening, Mrs. Doria, the kind old neighbor, came by again. She brought him a small box of bread. You're becoming famous, Mr. Ryan, she said with a smile. Everyone's saying you have invisible guards. Ryan smiled gently. Guards? No, just good machines and good timing. She looked worried. Be careful. The board doesn't like being made fools. Ryan nodded. I know, but truth has to come out sooner or later. Inside the HOA building, things were falling apart. Bragg yelled at his team. Those mercenaries ran like children. They said his house attacked them. What are we paying them for? Mrs. Kellen sat in silence, her hands shaking. We should stop this. It's gone too far. If the Earth Defense really gets involved, Bragg interrupted. Silence. We control this district. We built it, we own it. No outsider will take that from us. But Thomas finally stood up. No, sir. You don't own people. They trusted us and you used them. Maybe Commander Ryan is right. Maybe it's time we answer for what we did. Bragg glared at him. Get out. You're no longer part of this board. Thomas walked out calmly, leaving his badge behind. Mrs. Kellen looked at Bragg. You're making enemies everywhere. Bragg ignored her. I'll destroy him if it's the last thing I do. That night, Ryan received a new message from Earth Command. Commander, your report is clear. Authorization granted for public exposure. Proceed as you see fit. Ryan leaned back in his chair. The time had come. He turned to Unit 3. Prepare the broadcast. Tomorrow, the people of New Haven will see the truth with their own eyes. The droid's lights glowed brighter. Understood, sir. Ryan looked out the window. The district lights flickered in the distance, unaware that a storm of justice was about to break over them. He whispered, They called me their problem. Now I'll become their answer. At dawn, a quiet stillness filled the colony. Birds circled above the silver house, and the people woke up as usual, not knowing their world was about to change. Ryan walked outside wearing his full Earth Defense uniform for the first time. The silver emblem on his arm shone under the light. His calm eyes looked toward the HOA building far away. He said softly to his droid, Let's begin. Unit 3 blinked. Broadcast ready. Ryan pressed a button. Across the entire district, every screen in houses, offices, and even the HOA headquarters came to life. Ryan's calm face appeared. "People of New Haven," he said, "you have a right to know what has been done in your name. The HOA has stolen from you, controlled you, and sold your energy to outer traders. Here is the proof." Files began to scroll across the screens. Names, payments, documents, recordings. Gasps filled the colony as the truth became clear. In the HOA building, Bragg shouted, "Turn it off! Turn it off!" But it was too late. Every citizen was watching. Ryan stood quietly as the broadcast ended. He didn't smile or celebrate. He only said softly, "Now let's see who stands for justice." The next step would not be peace, it would be a test. Because truth had power, and Ryan knew power always came with a price. Would you like me to continue with part 4, the uprising next, 1150 words, same simple and engaging style? You said part 4. 1150 words ka lekho or interesting hona chahiye or third person style ma lekhni ha or simple basic English ka. Don't use any violated word. So please avoid any violated content, ChatGPT said. Title: HOA board called cops. As I said, I'm not under your HOA. Didn't know the cops were my security team. Part 4, the uprising, 1150 words. Third person, simple English, no violated content. The sun rose over New Haven district, painting the metal roofs in gold and orange light. But under that calm sky, tension filled the streets. People whispered in small groups. The story of Ryan's defense had spread through the colony. Some said his house glowed like a small star. Others said drones flew out of it and scared away attackers. No one knew the truth, but one thing was certain. The HOA board was afraid. Inside the board hall, Mr. Bragg slammed his hand on the table. "He's turning people against us," he shouted. His face was red with anger. First he refuses our rules. Then he brings in those security officers who treat him like a commander. Now the people think we are villains. Mrs. Kellen, nervous and tired, tried to calm him. Maybe we should stop now. If he really works for Earth Defense, we could be in trouble. But Bragg shook his head. No, if we stop, we lose everything. The taxes, the control, the respect, gone. That man will not destroy what I built. He turned to his assistant. Cut his power supply. If he lives in darkness, he'll crawl back to us. The sun rose over New Haven district, painting the metal roofs in gold and orange light. But under that calm sky, tension filled the streets. People whispered in small groups. The story of Ryan's defense had spread through the colony. Some said his house glowed like a small star. Others said drones flew out of it and scared away attackers. No one knew the truth, but one thing was certain. The HOA board was afraid. Inside the board hall, Mr. Bragg slammed his hand on the table. "He's turning people against us," he shouted. His face was red with anger. First, he refuses our rules. Then he brings in those security officers who treat him like a commander. Now the people think we are villains. Mrs. Kellen, nervous and tired, tried to calm him. Maybe we should stop now. If he really works for Earth Defense, we could be in trouble. But Bragg shook his head. No, if we stop, we lose everything. The taxes, the control, the respect, gone. That man will not destroy what I built. He turned to his assistant. Cut his power supply. If he lives in darkness, he'll crawl back to us. The assistant hesitated. Sir, his house has its own solar grid. We can't touch it from here. Bragg's jaw tightened. Then we find another way. Outside, the colony's streets buzzed with quiet talk. People no longer feared the board's cameras or drones. They walked freely, sharing stories about Ryan. A group of young workers whispered, maybe we can stand up too. If he can face them, why can't we? Ryan watched from his window. He saw hope in their eyes, a small spark of courage. He smiled softly. It begins, he murmured. That evening, Ryan met his security team in the safe room of his house. Captain Mira, leader of his guard unit, spoke first. The board is desperate. They've sent messages to unknown contacts outside the colony. Possibly mercenaries again, Ryan nodded. Let them come. But this time, we'll protect the people too. No more hiding. He opened a holographic screen showing proof. Recorded data of the HOA's crimes. The files contained secret payments, illegal energy taxes, and fake reports sent to the colony governor. This is everything, Ryan said. Tomorrow we show the truth. The next morning, the HOA tried its final move. Bragg ordered his men to spread lies across the colony network. Screens on every corner displayed a false message. Ryan Hale is an alien spy. He has come to control New Haven. The board will protect you. Some people believed it for a moment. Others didn't. But before confusion grew, Ryan's voice came through every public speaker. Calm, strong, and human. People of New Haven, he began. You have been lied to. I am not your enemy. The real danger is those who use fear to control you. The screens changed again, showing his evidence, videos of Bragg taking credits from secret accounts, messages between the board and mercenary leaders, and orders to threaten families who didn't pay. The truth spread like fire. Crowds gathered in the streets. People shouted for justice. And the HOA! We want freedom! Mr. Bragg's face turned pale as he saw people surrounding the board hall. This can't be happening, he whispered. We're losing them! Mrs. Kellen looked outside, trembling. We should surrender before it's too late. Bragg growled, Never. He pressed a button on his console. Activate defense drones. They'll scare them off, but the drones didn't move. Instead, Ryan's voice echoed through the board hall. Those drones now belong to the people. Step outside, Bragg. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then Bragg stood, eyes burning with rage. Fine. If he wants war, he'll get one. He stormed outside, facing hundreds of angry citizens. Behind them stood Ryan, tall, calm, wearing his Earth Defense uniform for the first time. The blue emblem on his arm shone under the sunlight. Whispers moved through the crowd. He's not lying. He really is Earth Defense, Bragg tried to speak. Don't believe him. But before he could finish, a loud explosion shook the ground. The sky filled with smoke as ships appeared on the horizon. Mercenaries returning for revenge and payment. Panic spread. People screamed and ran for cover. The mercenary ships fired plasma bursts into empty lots, trying to scare everyone. Bragg froze, realizing the very people he hired now attacked the colony. Ryan's team moved fast. Shields up, Captain Mira shouted. Blue energy domes covered the central streets, protecting the people. Ryan grabbed his communicator. All units defend the civilians. We hold this line. The battle began. Mercenary drones flew low, firing at Ryan's house, but were destroyed by defense turrets. Ryan and Mira led their team through the smoke, guiding families to safety. In one corner, a group of citizens stood blocking the path to the hospital. They had no weapons, only determination. When a drone came near, Ryan shot it down with precise aim. The people cheered. Bragg tried to run back to the hall, but soldiers from colony police stopped him. Stay where you are, one officer said. You can't arrest me, Bragg shouted. I'm the HOA leader. The officer's reply was calm. Not anymore. As the battle raged, Ryan saw something that made his heart ache. A small child standing alone near the ruins of a market stall. He ran through the smoke, picked up the child, and carried him to safety. It's all right, he said gently. You're safe now. The child looked up with wide eyes. Are you the hero everyone talks about? Ryan smiled softly. No, just a man doing his duty. Moments later, Mira called out, Commander! The mercenaries are retreating. Our drones are taking control of their ships. Ryan looked at the sky. The enemy crafts turned and vanished into the clouds. The sound of engines faded, leaving silence and the smell of burned metal. The people slowly came out from hiding. They saw Ryan standing in the center of the street, his uniform marked with dust but his eyes steady. The crowd began to cheer, not in wild joy but with deep respect. Ryan! 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 They shouted. Bragg, now surrounded by officers, fell to his knees. Please, he begged, I didn't mean for this to happen. Ryan walked toward him. You wanted power, he said quietly. But power without honor destroys those who hold it. Bragg lowered his head, saying nothing. The officers took him and the remaining board members away. That night, the colony lights glowed peacefully again. Families sat outside, talking and laughing for the first time in years. The air felt lighter, as if the planet itself had taken a deep breath. Ryan stood on his porch looking at the stars. Mira joined him. It's over, Commander, she said softly. Ryan nodded. Not yet. Tomorrow we rebuild, together. He watched the horizon where the mercenaries had fled. The danger was gone, but lessons remained. Humanity still had to prove that power and kindness could live side by side. As the night breeze moved through the quiet streets, Ryan whispered to himself, humans may make mistakes, but they always rise again. The colony of New Haven was no longer under fear. It was free, because one man stood firm and reminded them what humanity truly meant. And high above, in the orbiting ships of Earth defense, a message was sent. Mission success. Commander Ryan Hale has restored order and hope on New Terra. The uprising was over, but a new beginning had just started. The night after the battle was silent. The fires had been put out, the streets were cleaned, and the people of New Haven District were finally sleeping without fear. The stars above New Terra shone brighter than usual, as if the sky itself was watching over them. Inside his small but advanced home, Ryan Hale sat quietly near a digital window. The light of the twin moons fell on his uniform, now folded neatly beside him. He had not slept. His mind was full of thoughts, of the fight, of the people, and of what must come next. Captain Mira entered the room softly. She placed a datapad on the table. "Commander," she said, "Earth Defense has sent an update. They've seen your report. Reinforcements are on their way. They'll arrive by morning." Ryan nodded slowly. "Good. The people need to see that justice is real, not just a word." Mira smiled faintly. "They already see that in you." Ryan looked out the window again. "No, Mira. They see hope. Hope is stronger than one man. Hope is what saves humanity." Morning came with calm air and golden light spreading across the colony. The once strict streets where drones used to fly watching everyone were now open and quiet. People stood in small groups, fixing broken homes and helping each other. Children laughed again. Shops reopened. For the first time in many years, the district felt alive. When Ryan stepped outside, people waved at him with warm smiles. Some thanked him openly. Others simply nodded with respect. He replied with kindness to each of them, never proud, only humble. An old man approached him near the corner house. "Commander," he said softly, "for years, we lived under fear of those rules. Today we breathe free air. You gave us that." Ryan shook his head. "You gave it to yourselves. I only showed you that you could." The man smiled, tears in his eyes. "Still, thank you." By noon, a soft hum filled the sky. People looked up to see Earth defense ships descending through the clouds, sleek silver crafts that shined in sunlight. The colony crowd gathered to watch as one ship landed gently near the main square. Soldiers in blue armor stepped out, carrying the insignia of justice. A tall officer named Commander Voss walked toward Ryan. He saluted sharply. "Commander Hale," he said with a firm voice, "Earth Defense commends your work. You've done more than observe. You've restored freedom here." Ryan returned the salute. "Thank you, sir. The people earned it. I only helped them remember who they are." Commander Voss smiled slightly. "You always believed in humanity, didn't you?" "I never stopped," Ryan replied. The soldiers soon took Mr. Bragg, Mrs. Kellen, and the other board members into custody. They were calm now, their faces no longer angry or proud, only empty and tired. Bragg tried to speak when Ryan approached him. "Commander, I didn't want it to end like this." Ryan looked at him with calm eyes. "You wanted control, not peace. That was your mistake. Leadership is not about power. It's about trust." Bragg lowered his head, unable to reply. The soldiers led him away quietly. The people cheered when the board was taken. They felt a weight lift off their shoulders. The rule of fear was gone. Ryan raised his hand to calm the crowd. "Listen," he said, his voice strong but gentle. "We will not replace one rule with another. From today, this district belongs to its people. You will choose your leaders, and together you will build a fair system. No one will live in fear again." The people shouted with joy. Some cried, others clapped, and a few stood silently, feeling the truth of his words deep in their hearts. Later that day, the new council election began. It was simple, open and fair. Every citizen could vote, and the results were displayed for all to see. Honest workers, teachers, and engineers were chosen as the first council of New Haven. When the results were final, The new council invited Ryan to speak one last time. He stood in front of the crowd, his uniform shining under the bright sun. The people stood together. No walls, no guards, no fear. Humans, he said, have always faced danger, from space, from nature, and sometimes from themselves. But what makes us strong is not our weapons or our machines, it's our heart. We fight not to rule, but to protect. We lead not to command, but to serve. That is what makes us different. That is what makes us human. The crowd listened in silence, every word sinking deep into their minds. He looked at them one last time. I will be leaving soon. But remember this. Freedom is not a gift. It is a duty. Keep it safe, and never let fear control you again. The people cheered again, louder than before. The sound echoed across the colony. As the day ended, Ryan stood with Captain Mira on the edge of the settlement. The sky was painted red and gold by the setting sun. The wind was calm, carrying the voices of children playing in the distance. Mira looked at him. You could stay, you know. The people would want that. Ryan smiled gently. My work here is done. There are other colonies that need help. Humanity is still learning, and I still have duties to complete. Mira nodded. You've done more than most commanders ever will. Ryan looked up at the stars. It wasn't about doing more, it was about doing what was right. His communicator beeped softly. A voice from orbit said, Commander Hale, the ship is ready for departure. Ryan took a deep breath. Understood. He turned to Mira. Keep an eye on them, Captain. They will need guidance for some time. I will, sir, she said with a small smile. Before leaving, Ryan walked through the colony one last time. Everywhere he looked, he saw signs of new life. People rebuilding homes together, children planting green seeds in the open parks, laughter filling the air. He saw unity, not control, cooperation, not fear. Humanity was healing itself. He stopped by his old house, touched the wall softly, and whispered, You did your part too, old friend. The house's AI lights blinked in gentle blue, as if saying goodbye. As he walked toward the landing site, people followed quietly behind him. They didn't shout or cheer this time. They just walked in respect, knowing they were saying goodbye to the man who gave them back their freedom. When Ryan reached the ship, he turned around one last time. The colony shimmered in evening light. He raised his hand. Take care of this world, he said simply. The crowd bowed their heads as the ship's engines began to glow. Slowly the craft rose, lifting through the calm air, breaking through clouds into the starry sky. Hours later, from the observation deck of the orbiting ship, Ryan looked down at New Terra, a small but shining blue planet full of human life. He smiled faintly. One world healed, he said quietly. Many more to go. Commander Voss walked in and stood beside him. You still believe humanity can change? Ryan nodded. They already are. They just need someone to remind them who they are. Voss smiled. And you're that reminder. Ryan looked at the stars. No, humanity itself is the reminder. The stars reflected in his eyes as the ship moved forward, leaving New Terra behind. Below, the colony lights glowed bright, symbols of freedom, unity, and hope. And in that light, the story of one man who stood against corruption and fear would live forever.